Thank you, everyone. So it's such a pleasure to be with you tonight, and it's quite late maybe for some of you. So I really appreciate your presence. It's a privilege once again to be able to share on intonations. If you can, and if you'd like to have your camera on, it can be really great for me because I get to see you. I've got my gallery view there, and I get to see your reactions. So. No worries if you don't have it on, but it can be a way as well for you to be a little bit engaged and get the most out of the session. So this is just my invitation because I get to as well see your reactions and adapt to the reaction that I can see on the screens. So tonight it's going to be a special event. I'm going to talk about the mental fitness. What is the mental fitness for me is this inner strength, this ability to be strong internally and not to depend on the outside to actually have a great life and thrive. So the best example of that for me, as a short introduction, is athletes. We know that athletes and their performance really highly depend on their ability to be clear-headed, to be focused on what they do, and to have this really strong mindset and this inner strength. And I'm really excited tonight to share a lot about what I've learned from a program that's called Positive Intelligence, that is led by an amazing coach called Shirzad Chamine. He's a Stanford lecturer, a New York Times bestseller, and he's used to coaching a lot of CEOs and entrepreneurs. And he has came up with this program and principles to help you understand how to approach mental fitness, inner strength. And his research combines positive psychology, neuroscience, cognitive psychology, and performance science. So it's really, really interesting. And I've been mentioning it a lot through my talks. If you've seen me speaking before, you probably have heard some of it that I've introduced in the talks that I've been doing so far. So this is going to be more specifically about it. This is why I'm super excited. So I'd like to say a few words to introduce myself, to mirror and to echo what Ayat was just saying. Thank you so much for your invitation. I'm a certified coach. I'm myself an expat. I'm coming to you from the UK. I am from France originally, and I lived in a lot of different countries. So this international aspect and openness to the world is very, very dear to me. I speak French, English, and Spanish. So I love connecting with expats for that and using languages in my coaching sessions. It's really bringing me a lot of joy. And I've done many jobs in my life. I've changed careers several times. Started by being a language teacher and traveling the world and teaching languages over the world for 5 years. Then I created my first entrepreneur experience. That was a bilingual nursery that I co-funded. And while I was doing that, I also was doing some very deep personal development work on myself, which actually led me gradually to consider coaching and switch to training and switch to coaching. So this is why I'm super excited to do work around entrepreneur mindset. And my area of specialization is helping women transition from employment to creating their own business in wellness and therapy. So this is one of my special area of expertise. And I love combining things when I work with people. I combine coaching, some consulting, and some mindset and mental fitness work, but as it's really important to actually consider this powerful combination to help people thrive and create the life that they actually want. And it starts inside. This is always the first point, points back to inside of you, and what you can actually do with yourself to be more stable, to be stronger. So I'm really excited again, to be sharing my perspective as a coach, and also all the things that I've learned of this program. So what is mental fitness? So in Positive Intelligence, mental fitness is described as the capacity to handle the challenges of life with a positive mindset, rather than being upset or stressed or completely anxious or overwhelmed, but really in this positive vibe of trust, of optimism, and the recent years, as it's been a common experience. In recent years, has put us in front of strong challenges, and we were not used to that. There was big changes. There was big adversity coming to us, and the analogy here that works quite well is actually the analogy of physical exercise. And if you have sort of an average physical fitness, it can be okay for you to climb small hills or even small mountains. And it's the same that happens with mental fitness. We are all quite likely usually to be able to handle small challenges in life, small stresses of life. But when it comes to bigger hills or bigger mountains, we might not be so trained, we might not be so strong, and we might need to grow our muscles, grow our endurance and resistance. I also quite like the term resilience there. I find that works really well, because of course things are going to happen to us. Life is going to happen to us. Change is inevitable, and it's absolutely useless to blame the mountain, and tell the mountain, you're too high, you're too stiff, you're the problem. It's absolutely useless, isn't it? I guess you would agree with me. But if you look at things in a different perspective, you look at things differently, and you work on how you can become more resilient, how you can train yourself to be able to climb higher mountains gradually, it can be useful actually for the rest of your life, in every aspect of your life, impacting your performance, your peace of mind and wellness. Because sometimes some people get that, they have a high success or they make a lot of money, but they do not have this peace, this happiness, this fulfillment in the sense that internally they're struggling, and also good connection, healthy relationships. So hopefully this is the impact that mental fitness brings to everyone. So we can call that differently. In this program, this is the approach. I quite like it because I like the comparison, the analogy with physical activity that is quite easy to understand. It's an image that's easy to see. So as a result of being able to handle the challenges of life with a positive mindset, you get great results whether you are an athlete, an entrepreneur, if it's for your personal life, your professional life. Performance is not only about results such as money, but also being able to be the higher version of yourself, to reach and to create the life that you want for you. That is for me, that is a lot beyond just some success like money. It's the all cookie. It's about wanting it all, reaching your dreams, finding serenity, finding happiness, whichever wording would talk to you more. And with mental fitness, the focus is on growing 3 core muscles. So I'm going to go through that with you more in detail. But before we come to that, I wanted to tell you a little bit about the science. So I mentioned it briefly. This work is actually the synthesis of different areas in science over the past 10 years. Neuroscience, positive psychology, behavioral psychology, and performance science. And this synthesis has become positive intelligence. And I find that absolutely fascinating. I don't know about you, but I love looking at how science can actually prove now with MRIs and with scans, things that we've been studying, maybe not on the scientific level so far, and we know that works. And now I'm thinking, for example, that a course you can take for free actually on a platform called edX, a course on the science of happiness by Berkeley University, and it's absolutely full of studies and actually results of scientific experiments and things like that actually prove a lot of what we already know. And I found that fascinating, and I think it's one of the bigger gifts of our era, this ability to actually coordinate science and to prove things that maybe we've known for centuries, in terms of wisdom, for example, things that comes from ancient traditions. So this program, this perspective is being tested with, as I mentioned, a lot of CEOs and executive teams, as well as Stanford students. And it's amazing to see the result actually on the students' productivity, on athletes, and overall altogether, more than 500,000 participants from 50 countries, which is interesting to see because it means that it can work whichever culture, whichever background. It really applies really broadly, and the book Positive Intelligence has been translated in 20 languages, so really big outreach there. I'm going to be talking, as I said, about my own experience of the program, what I got from it, going through it, and also what I got about the training, so to become a coach, being able to use these techniques. And with the clients, of course, that I've been coaching with it. So why is it effective? So, as I said, I like how positive intelligence actually brings complex, research into simple things. It's got a really nice way to explain things so that it makes it understandable, relatable. You can say, oh yes, actually I can resonate with that. Makes sense to for me and in my experience. And why it's so powerful, it's thanks to factor analysis. So factor analysis is about discovering the root cause of things, enabling then simplification of a problem. So understanding your problem in very simple way. For example, at the root of thousands of colors, you only have 3 primary colors, right? Red, blue, and yellow. So for mental fitness, in the way that it's presented by Positive Intelligence, we can go down to 3 core muscles that are at the root of your mental fitness. So if you want to build this inner strength in yourself, you need to grow 3 core muscles. And those 3 core muscles are the saboteur interceptor muscle, which enables you to see your inner critic, your sage muscle, and your self-command muscle. So it might not mean a lot for you right now. You might be like, what? I have no idea what that would be, what that means. So no worries about it. I will be going through in detail. It's just to show you that it can really go back to those three principles. So how does it work? So a great analogy to explain for me how it works for mental fitness is actually the reference to Star Wars and the Jedi mind training. That is actually that name it came up from the Stanford students that are involved in the program. So they called it the Jedi mind training. So I hope that every one of you has heard of Star Wars at this point. And it works really well because we realize, thanks to this comparison of Jedis and Dark Vador, we realize that actually there is a big war happening inside of us between the inner Jedi and the inner Dark Vadors, right? You've probably heard about it in different presentations. These voices that we hear, the critics, the inner critic, the inner saboteurs, and so it's like, and for a lot of things it can be like that. It's like if Star Wars was describing what's actually going on inside of us as human. So in Positive Intelligence, we do not use Jedi and Dark Vadors, but sage and saboteurs. So the saboteurs are causing negative emotions. They can hijack you a lot, and they are actually what is limiting your productivity, your happiness, your energy. So they are actually sort of disruptive in the sense that they use energy and transform it into negative. And Positive Intelligence has shown that there are 10 different saboteurs that can operate in people. We are all unique, so we might not have the same stronger saboteur inside of us. We are as unique as our fingerprint when we are born. That is very important, that we have this amazing personality that is unique to us. So we develop different saboteurs from one person to another. And it's really interesting to see those 10 main saboteurs and to understand having this awareness. For me, it is really about the awareness of what is going on inside of you, understanding of what's going on inside of you that most people are not aware of, right? So, and on the other side, you have the sage. So what we want to do, the first muscle that we want to build is the saboteur interceptor muscle. So how do we build the saboteur interceptor muscle? So it's really, so as I said, it's really about becoming aware of what's happening inside of you, becoming aware of how you go negative. And the first thing we can see is the judge. So everyone has a judge inside of them. It's actually a very natural process to develop a judge inside of you. And I'm saying the judge. I'm not saying my judge or your judge, right? This is something inside of you, but it's not you. It's not your identity. It's not you, who you are. Well, you might not be aware of it, but it's inevitable to have one. So the judge operates in three ways. Usually it starts with self-judgment, actually quite early age. So that's what we call also the inner critic. That's the one that wakes you up, at 3 a.m. in the morning, or stops you from getting to sleep and telling you, you idiot, you made that stupid mistake. What is wrong with you? And it's actually really interesting to see that it's one of the first phenomena that happens from very early on in life, the self-judgment. There is something wrong with me, the belief that there is something wrong with me. The second mode then is judging others. So I'm finding plenty of faults with myself, and then I start finding faults in every other person. This one is ugly, this one is a loser, things could be done better, what is wrong with these people, etc. And it's absolutely fascinating to actually realize how much is it of a reaction, how much is unconscious, even just walking down the street. If you're aware, if you're watching your mind, if you're watching your thought, you walk down the street and you see someone crossing you or walking alongside, you might actually identify some judgment thoughts really quickly. You haven't met that person, you're just making some judgments from out of the blue. Oh, this is not looking great, this person could be dressed better, or whatever type of judgment. So this is just an example maybe to show you how this judge operates. And the third mode is judging situations and circumstances, and of course finding what is wrong with them, making negative judgment about every possible situation. And again, this is something that we usually do without realizing it. And that leads to I cannot be happy now because of this situation, of this aspect, or I will only be happy when I will get this, or when this ends, or when my life changes, etc. So the judge is so present, and this is why he is called the master saboteur, because he's constantly telling you what is wrong with you, what is wrong with others, and what is wrong with the world, situation and circumstances. And that is a huge sabotage. Can you imagine how much of your energy, how much of your brain activity then can be involved in these negative thoughts, right? And all the emotions and reactions that it creates, right? It would create, for example, stress, anxiety, negativity. And it's used about, thinking about it, ruminating about it, rather than using the other side of the brain and using more positivity, looking actually at solutions, etc. So this is a very natural phenomena until you become aware of it, and then maybe there is a different way to operate. But to become fully aware of it, it's also interesting to see the subtleties. So, and the judge works hand in hand with saboteurs, what we call accomplice saboteurs. He's the master saboteur, right? And he's got his team. And we usually have 1, 2, or 3 main saboteurs that are stronger. We don't have, the 9 of them, thankfully, the 9 of them very strong inside of us. But we usually have 1 or 2 or 3, which explains as well why, even in the same family, even siblings raised in the same families, are not exactly the same, right? They don't have the same personality. Maybe one is introvert, one is extrovert, and they might not develop the same saboteurs because their personality from scratch is different. So who are those saboteurs. So you've got the controller, the hyperachiever, the restless, the stickler, the pleaser, the hypervigilant, the avoider, the victim, and the hyperrational. So usually at this stage, when people get to know about the saboteurs, they find it easier to see it in other people. So maybe my invitation is that if you can think of, maybe you know someone from work or someone in your family, and see if some of those saboteurs resonate with them. And you might think, okay, maybe, oh yes, I think my mother has definitely a stickler, or my boss, oh yes, he's such a controller for sure, etc. So it's something that we can identify more easily usually in others. And the question is, so what's happening inside of you? Because you can only be responsible for what's happening inside of you. So what's happening in your inner game, in your inner world. So how do you go negative, right? So it's very interesting to see how it works, and what we're realizing also with the work that we're doing with my clients is that how they work together and how they can be triggered. So for example, one of my clients has got a controller saboteur that is the strongest, and an avoider saboteur. And it's really funny how to see how it works. So for example, the judge would come and say, oh, this is wrong, the situation is terrible. Then the controller will be triggered and will go, okay, I need to intervene and fix this mess. You can't do it without me. Thank God I'm here and I can control everything. And the controller has got a really big fear about protecting his freedom and making sure he's not being controlled over. And that actually triggers in this client the avoider. Then arrives and says, okay, I'm no one bosses me around, so I'll do that thing when I want to do it. So I actually going to procrastinate. So as a result, usually he ends up procrastinating on important tasks. And this is how it's happened internally for him, starting from the judgment of the judge, then going into the controller mode, and finally triggering the avoider. And they work together. So that was an example to show you how actually they coordinate each other. They trigger each other. So the question is, so what's in there for you? So maybe you can already identify things and tendencies. You can also, on the positiveintelligence.com, on the website, you can take a free assessment, the saboteur assessment. So I will put the link in the chat box. At the end of the presentation, so that you can take this test. It's about 5 minutes. It's completely free, and you get the result via email. Please stay with me and wait until the end of the presentation before you go and do the test, so that you'll have a lot more of an approach as well of how you're approaching this to answer the questions. So what's amazing as well is that people have discovered a lot actually about the test, becoming more conscious about them. So this is my saboteur assessment results. So I'm sharing with you to be, I think it's important as well to be transparent and to realize that it happens to everyone. So of course it happens also to the coach, and we can still have some tendencies, and the more we become aware of them, the less strong they will become. So we will probably never be completely. We will never be completely getting rid of the voice of the judge, for example. It might still be there, but it might be more of a whisper than a shout, ultimately. And some people do manage to transcend things completely, so we never know. But so these are my results. And I was quite surprised to find that at first, that I have strong pleaser. And when I looked at the result, I was actually, yes, you know what, this is actually consistent. I would have thought maybe my controller was stronger than my pleaser. But that's, again, a way to sort of hide from the truth. So I really invite you to take the test, because you might also discover things, and the more the more awareness, the more growth. Really, it is always the first step. So I still have, as you see on my result, I still have other saboteurs there. We have a number 3, we have the stickler, number 4, the hyperachiever, and so on and so forth. So it's not necessary to focus on the other saboteurs, but really on the top saboteurs. So for me, it would be the pleaser, the controller, maybe the stickler a little bit if he comes here and now. But my main focus is becoming aware of the judge, the pleaser, and the controller. So, and what I do with my clients, I ask them to journal actually, and to describe what they observe daily about the judge, about the top saboteurs. And it's very useful. It's really useful as well to be aware of their lies, because they have been in place for so long. You know, they've been ruling there for so long, and having and seeing how they actually interfere and what consequences it has in your daily life in concrete situation is also bringing more and more awareness. So this is what we're doing with this interceptor muscle. We are watching, we are becoming aware, and we are catching those saboteurs. You know, they might have been operating in the dark for so long. Now we can see them, which is very important. So we can move on to build our sage muscle. So the fact that we are intercepting the saboteurs actually is also going to be naturally making them weaker. But we want to grow something. We want to strengthen something that is going to be an alternative to the saboteurs, of course. So the saboteurs, we can say that the saboteurs live in the survival part of the brain. So to simplify, the left part of the brain, which is more rational, more logical part of the brain, right? And they are trying to protect us. They're trying to help you with the problem at hand, right? And they are usually very negative. They bring fear, they bring stress, anger, guilt, shame, because they are really about the survival, right? They want to make you safe. So they sort of have this ability to exaggerate something negative, a threat, or something that could turn into a threat. And it's really interesting because when you read also like quotes by Albert Einstein, for example, he actually talks about that. He talks about the fact that our society now, and in those recent years, let's say in this new era, has been focusing a lot on the left parts of the brain and the rational, and really making all the focus about this rational part of the brain, the left part of the brain, which is really useful. We do need it. This is also the part of the brain that makes us move and walk and being active, right? If you have a stroke and your left part of the brain is paralyzed, you won't be able to walk. So we want to be able to walk and run, etc. But by focusing so much on the left part of the brain, we've actually strengthened it and sort of forgetting about the right part. So he talks about that. It's really fascinating. He says that, and when you look at schools and the way we approach science and everything, we've sort of left the creative part, the right part of the brain, the empathy, the curiosity, the passion, the purpose. We've left it there, right? And we're not really focusing and training and growing that part of the brain. And this invitation with this program is actually also to rebalance where things are happening. And this is why it's a very, very deep work. Actually, it's going to be creating new neurological pathways to rebalance the way your brain works, and to rebalance that creative part, and to make that more in control of your, so that you can be more in control of yourself, of your true self, rather than the sabotage part. So this is really growing. By growing your sage, is really growing the right part of the brain. And while the left part of the brain pushes you for negativity, right? You can still get, as I say, you can still get results, you can still achieve things, but that would be pushed by fear, by stress, by anger, by guilt, by shame, or by insecurity. While the sage, when you're in sage mode, you are pulled through positivity, empathy, intuition, curiosity, creativity, passion, and purpose. So it moves you forward a lot more naturally. We can talk about also being in the flow, and it allows naturally also greater results and greater happiness, because it's a lot more natural. So this is why it's really about changing a deep inner operating system. So at this stage, you might be wondering, is negative emotions, are they good for me in the end, right? And it's an important question. So on the saboteurs, good for you. So I'd like to consider actually a parallel question at this point. So, and the question would be, is pain good for you? So what is your opinion? You can reflect on that for a second while you're hearing me. What is your opinion? Is pain good for you? We can say that probably yes. No, pain is good for me. It's a signal for my body to tell me that something is happening. It's a way to get my attention. Okay, attention here, you've been cut. Take action. Stop the bleeding, for example. So if I put my hand on the hot stove in the kitchen, it's good for me to feel pain. Otherwise, I'll keep my hand there and it will burn to the bone. So it's good to feel pain. It's good to know that something might be needing your attention. But how long would you need to feel the pain? Well, probably, as soon as possible. You can remove your hand and stop feeling the pain, right? And take action straight away. As little time as possible of pain. So as little pain as possible. Sounds good, no, doesn't it? So it's the same idea that's been developed in positive intelligence. So are negative emotions good for you? Well, as little as possible, please. They can be great signals. They can be great indication for you to get your attention. Oh, maybe I'm feeling a little bit uncomfortable. Maybe I've made a mistake and I want to see it. But we don't want to stay in stress, in anxiety, in shame, in disappointment. They're not helping you. They're not making you progressing. They're not making you working towards a solution, right? They are actually getting your attention away from what's happening right now. So staying in the negative hurts your ability to see clearly and maybe respond better, respond with empathy, curiosity, laser focus action, being completely present to what's happening. So whenever you feel a negative emotion and that negative emotion stays with you, and actually you build on that, and it can be sometimes a really also quite bad downward spiral, right? From anger to shame to guilt to sadness, right? We can ruminate on those emotions. That means you're in saboteur mode. It's really clear and it's really easy to see. Whenever something is overwhelming you, you're feeling bad, you're feeling low, you're in saboteur mode. So that creates also like a tunnel vision. You can't really see what's happening beyond this situation. You're really sort of focusing, limit your perception, and it's nobody's fault. This is what negative emotions do. And again, going back to really like early on, this was a survival thing. Yeah, I need to focus on maybe that tiger that's going to come attack me. So I can't see anything else, and my focus is 100% there. But then the stress and everything that happens is actually very counterproductive and not really useful, not really necessary. So we want to activate the sage muscle, grow your sage muscle, activate this creativity, solution, resourcefulness, clear-headed action with this positive side of the brain. And going back to the Jedi analogy, it's really also the ability, when the Jedi is attacked, from 6 directions by 6 different enemies. Feeling the stress can be great for a second, attack signal, okay, I get it, and then shifting to a calm, clear-headed focus, laser sage, then the Jedi can fight so much better from that clear mind, really clear and calm mind. So she has this Jedi in this example has a really high mental fitness level, right? She's able to switch very, very quickly. Because she knows that if she stays in negative, she will get killed. So we all are able, to actually do that, to switch to positive. But we might not have, going back to analogy of physical exercise, we might not have very strong muscles. We might not have the ability to handle bigger challenges. So this is why we want to train. We want to train so that we can enjoy our lives so much better. Every experience that comes to us, and every type of challenges, higher, smaller, all sorts of challenges. So it's also very important to realize that the saboteurs are not good for you. They want you to believe that they're your friends, that without them you cannot achieve anything. If you don't have a controller, if you don't have a pleaser, etc., you're not going to be able to get anywhere. But actually the sage perspective and the sage tell us a very different story. And the sage operates in a part of the brain that is considering that every circumstance or outcome can actually bring a gift or opportunity to you. So every outcome or circumstance can be turned into a gift and opportunity. This is overall the sage perspective. This is what the sage brings as a suggestion. And the 5 powers of the sage are explore, empathize, navigate, activate, and innovate. And that might sound very simple or even maybe naive to some of you, but it's actually a very powerful perspective. Very powerful perspective. So to illustrate that, at this point, I'd like to actually tell you a story that comes from ancient China that you might have heard before. That is called the stallion story. So this is the story of a sage who's an old farmer. He lives in a farm in a small village, and he has this most beautiful stallion, and it's his biggest and most important prized possession. He absolutely loves the stallion. And one day he decides to enter the stallion into a competition, and the stallion wins first prize. So all the neighbors that never really noticed the old farmer before, they come to him, and he attracts everyone's attention, and all the neighbors come and congratulate him, like, wow, wonderful, you must be so happy, what a great achievement for you, this is the best thing that's ever happened to you in your life. And the farmer just is really calm, he's just really relaxed, and he said to them, well, who knows what is good and what is bad? So the neighbors are a bit like, what is that guy? They found his really, really strange answer. So they go away, and a week or so passes, and actually the thieves in the area have discovered that the stallion has won first prize. So they actually go and they come and steal the stallion from the farmer. So the neighbors arrive, and they bring their condolences to the farmer. Oh, I'm so sorry for you. You were right not to rejoice, because actually something so bad just happened to you. And the farmer looks at them and says, who knows what is good and what is bad? What a strange answer. So again, very puzzled, they go away. And another week passes, and the stallion, being very, very strong, he actually manages to break away from his captors. And on his way back, he attracts wild mares that actually come along with them, and they go back to the village and to the farmer. So the neighbors arrive again and congratulate the farmer. Wow, so amazing. And the farmer says, who knows what is good and what is bad? So at this point, they're starting to be worried about the farmer, and they're like, should we take action? Does this person need medical supervision or something? And another week passes, and the farmer has a young adult son, and his son is riding one of the wild mares, trying to tame her, and he's actually thrown to the ground, and he breaks his leg. So the neighbors arrive, and they're really worried about the son, and they go, I'm so sorry for you. And once again, even in this situation, the farmer says, who knows what is good and what is bad? So the neighbors are really starting to get worried, right? And after a week, there's actually an outbreak of war in the region, and the army, the national army, is going from villages to actually conscript as many male adults as they can to go to war. But they can't take the farmer's son because he has broken his leg. So about this time, the neighbors don't even bother come and talk to the old farmer, because they know, of course, what the farmer is going to say to them. And the farmer is going to say, who knows what is good and what is bad? So there's a profound wisdom in this ancient Chinese story. And if there is nothing else that you remember from tonight, please take that story with you, because it really changes everything in the perspective, in the way you approach things. So which perspective is true then? Is it the saboteur's perspective, saying this is bad, life is bad, there's something wrong with me, there's something wrong with others, something wrong with the world can't be right, can it? Or is it the sage perspective? This is a gift. This could be turned into a gift and opportunity. And the answer to that question is actually quite straightforward. Whichever you believe usually comes true. So it's quite like a self-fulfilling sort of prophecy. What's interesting, because in the story we can see that the farmer is quite passive, right? He's waiting and he's watching what's happening outside of them. While with the saboteurs and with the sage, we are also looking at how we can be active, how we can actually train, how we actually can grow our inner muscles, and how we can actually make a difference, right? And access more of the positive side of the brain. While the farmer is already there, obviously, it's already in sage, in the sage perspective. So there are also, of course, ways to be active, but it's very important for you to consider that at this point. This is actually a self-fulfilling prophecy, whether you believe in the saboteur perspective or the sage perspective. So we need to go on with the third muscle, which is the self-command muscle. So the self-command muscle is actually the link, the thing that is going to make to grow for you the ability to shift from the saboteur mode, the left side of the brain, to a positive reaction, to a positive outcome, to the sage perspective on the right-hand side of the brain. So the self-command is going to be your ability to actually grow this muscle, so that your brain can be serving you instead of sabotaging you. So how do you grow your muscle? So again, I like in this program, I like the comparison with the gym, right? So they've actually came up with different mental fitness reps that you're going to be doing, like just like when you use a dumbbell, right? You go to the gym and you grow your muscle of self-command, and gradually you're able to lift heavier weights and heavier challenges, and gradually you grow your mental fitness, right? So the equivalent of a dumbbell would be called a PQ rep, a positive quotient intelligence rep, PQ for short. And for one rep, you would need around 10 seconds. Yeah, does that sound achievable? So that's also the great thing I loved about this program, is that actually the way it is something easy to implement in your day, and changing so deeply the way your brain functions on the neurological level. So let's do a version of a rep right now together. So I'm going to ask you if you want to take part of that, just to sit comfortably and see if you can have your back straight, your feet flat on the floor, and start connecting with your breathing. Just becoming aware of your body, and take a few deep breaths. So we're going to do a PQ rep on the sense of touch. And for that, I'm going to take 2 fingertips and rub them gently against each other. Can be any fingers. So you gently rub 2 fingertips against each other, bringing all your attention so that you can feel the fingertip ridges on both fingers. Great. Now see if you can go even slower. See how slower you can get in the movement, and how much you can bring your attention to feeling the ridges on both fingers. Wonderful. So that was about 10 seconds. You can open your eyes when you're ready and come back to the presentation. So what's fascinating is that it's the easiest thing, isn't it? It's very simple. And if you had your head under an MRI machine, actually, you would have noticed that in just 10 seconds, your activity in your brain we'll have quieter in the left part of the brain, and we'll activate the right part of the brain, the sage part of the brain, the creativity part of the brain, in just 10 seconds. So that was just one type of rep. We can do different types of rep on the breathing, on seeing as well. So it can be done also with eyes open. It can be really handy in the middle of a meeting that can be a bit challenging, for example. You can do reps on sounds and on noticing other things in your body. So it makes a big impact. It might not be so obvious to realize just by doing 10 reps, but this is how we actually build that self-command muscle. We command our attention, we train our attention that is so used to not being taken care of, right? It's so used to being hijacked by the saboteur, being in saboteur mode, being in autopilot, we can call. So we are not used to it. So it takes a lot of work, a lot of practice to actually activate and activate and activate again, and grow and work on this attention. It is actually about your attention muscle, right? And there are 100 ways to doing this. We can do it eyes closed, we can do it eyes open, and the best way to do it is actually to do it through the day. So we can see now how, and I'm going to talk you through how they all work together, how the three muscles that we mentioned actually work together to help you build this strong mental fitness. So whenever you're feeling in negative mode, as we've said, that it's a sign, if there's a negative emotion, it's a sign that you are in the left part of your brain and you're in saboteur, right? You've been hijacked. So you can do some reps. You can use your self-command to actually come back to now, focus your attention on now and activate the right part of the brain. Go back to calm, focus, creativity, etc. And then with the sage perspective, that every problem can be turned into a gift and opportunity, then you can generate the gifts and new ideas and etc. working towards a solution if there is a necessity to do so by using the sage power. So that is your sage muscle. So this is how they work together, and they bring more results, more happiness, more fulfillment in your life with empathy, curiosity, creativity, etc. So you're probably thinking also at this stage that there is a big similarity with meditation and mindfulness that you might have heard of. And of course, we could say that meditation, mindfulness, and other types of exercise are also picky reps too. They're also reps to grow your mental fitness. Absolutely, they activate the right part of the brain. And this is also something that we can prove now with MRIs and machines. The power of this program and what it brings is actually also helping people that might not be able to, at this stage, do 2 hours of meditation a day or close their eyes even 20 minutes a day, and having problems also with the regularity, the consistency in such a practice. While with a PQ rep, it can take 10 seconds or sections of maybe 2 minutes at a time. So they're really easy to fit into a busy schedule. They're based on your body sensations that people tend to find more accessible than other types of meditations. So it's really making it easy for you to implement in your day, and really get to change your life from this particular practice. Understanding also why, understanding what happens, what it does to you, what's happening internally, and why you have to go and switch to the other side of your brain. But it's completely compatible, of course, with other techniques. If you're already doing other techniques and you enjoy them and they bring a lot to you, awesome. It can be complementary to help you, handle things in a busy meeting, for example, with your eyes open. So it's not one or the other. It can actually work great together. And it's really interesting also to realize that lasting change actually require a lot of practice. So they say that it takes about 20% of insights, so understanding, being aware, becoming aware, and 80% of practice. It's just like in sport, and it's just like, for example, in life. If you go to a workshop one day and you check in again like 3 months later, if you haven't been practicing at all, there might not be a lot left from that amazing workshop that was so inspiring at the time. But if you don't actually implement it and put it in practice, you're not going to get the result. You're not going to get the long time and the deep change. And we're talking about new neural pathways in your brain, reprogramming your brain completely. So it does take a little bit of work. And the research with positive intelligence, they've shown that there can be amazing results from 6 to 8 weeks of initial practice to weaken the saboteur, start growing the free core muscles. And there's been a creation and implementation of an application, which is actually super convenient. It's super convenient because you can use on your phone, you can do exercises all through the day, and it helps you with structuring and building those new habits. Because this is really the invitation. It's not like only to do for 6 or 8 weeks. It's actually something that you want to implement, and you want that to become automatic for you. So it takes a little bit of initial practice, and then you get better and better, and you grow your muscles, etc. Like you go to the gym. And the initial practice would be the program that's with the app includes a 1 hour weekly video and about 15 minutes a day of exercises, breaking down into 2 minutes. So it's like 2 minutes every 3 hours. So it's really easy and really helps as well to recover, and it creates already, really quickly people have results. It's actually quite amazing. Even in a few days, some of my clients already telling me, do you know what, this is really helping me. I feel calmer, I'm much better at work, etc. I already have more mind space, etc. So this program also includes eight chapter of the Positive Intelligence book, bonuses such as the gym with extra exercises and etc. So this program is available on positiveintelligence.com. You absolutely don't need to do it through me. I will get absolutely no commission if you're interested and you want to do it directly without using a coach. So it's important to mention that, because I think it's great that the access is there for anyone that's interested to doing it, and I might not want to work with someone on a one-to-one. What I found is that combined with one-to-one sessions, it actually multiplies the impact. It helps a lot of people creating this awareness, finding ways to understand what's happening, and then finding solutions as well, and help with growing stage muscles and get an extra boost, extra guidance. So the way I work with my clients is actually around 8 weeks. So including the 6 weeks in the middle, and addition 2 other sessions before and after the program. So if you want to know more about that, I will put in the chat box a link for a discovery session one-to-one if you want to know more and you want to share with me about your personal situation.